British watch brands really are having a moment. So last weekend was British Watchmakers Day, which is the annual event organised by the Alliance of British Watch and Clockmakers. It was great to see so many British watch brands all under one roof. There was everyone from relative newcomers like APR and Anoma, through to stalwarts of British watchmaking like Bremont, Christopher Ward, and even Roger Smith was there, meeting and greeting people and showing some of his amazing creations. And it was heartwarming that while the Swiss watch industry perhaps isn't in the greatest of shape right now, if British Watchmakers Day was anything to go by, the British watchmaking scene, and perhaps micro brands in general, really are thriving. So I wanted to do this video just to tell you which brands were some of the highlights of the show for me. And if you stick around until the end of the video, well, I'll reveal which brand really stole the show. I mean, you can probably guess, but, we'll get onto that one later. So one of the brands that impressed me the most, and it's one I mentioned earlier, is Anoma. Now, this is a really new brand that's been started by a young designer called Matteo. He used to work for Sotheby's and for A Collected Man. Now, he's taken the inspiration for the K-shape from a famous furniture designer and a particular table that follows a very similar triangular shape. Now, I absolutely love the attention to detail on this thing. I mean, it's got domed hands, and the buckle is even curved and kind of follows a similar shape to the case. It reminds me a little of my friend Sylvain Berneron's Mirage, but for a much more pocket-friendly price. I mean, this thing sells for about £1,800. Now, there are only going to be 300 pieces available in the initial run, and I believe it's launching on the 10th of March. So if you want one of these guys, you're going to have to be pretty quick. Now, next up for me was Isotope. Now, Jose from Isotope was there, and showing some of his latest releases, including the Moonshot. Now, this is a big, beefy, chunky chronograph, but I really love the design of it. It's just so futuristic, and I love how he's used discs to reveal the time on the chronograph subdials rather than hands. It's available on a bracelet, but I particularly loved it on this integrated rubber strap. I just think it really suits this watch. Now, Farer are another British brand that I haven't had the chance to get hands-on with before, so it was really great to see some of their pieces. I love how they have this quite traditional design language, but they use these really bright colours as a contrast, which just really pop. But yeah, they have a great range of models, and it was really cool just to get hands-on with a few of them. Then there was Fears. Now, this feels like I'm doing it in alphabetical order, but I'm not actually that organised. Now, I'm starting to appreciate Fears watches more and more. I'm really digging their design language. And whilst I always thought that some of their pieces were perhaps a little expensive, getting hands-on with them, you can really start to appreciate the level of finishing and detailing that goes into them. So that's one maybe I was wrong about. Some of their dials are just really cool too. They had a pink dial, I think it was a Brunswick, as well as a really nice copper dial that I absolutely loved. Now, Mr. Jones watches were also exhibiting, and these are just so much fun. And I love the way that it's not just in the design of the dials or the colours that they use, but also how they kind of bring animation into the dial on many of their models as a way of displaying the time. They had this one with a Ferris wheel on it, which was just really cool to watch it go around. Could kind of stare at that thing for ages. So if you like fun watches, they're well worth checking out. And I don't think anything really delivers this much fun for so little money. Now, British Watchmakers Day was also the first time that I got to see anything from Duckworth Prestex in the metal. Now, Neil Duckworth has huge experience in the watch industry. I believe he was the UK importer for Tag Heuer for a number of years during the 90s. And you can tell that he knows how to make a really nice watch. They kind of have this timeless quality to them. I'm a bit of a sucker for cushion-shaped cases, so some of their designs really appeal to me. Their chronograph, for example, I mean, it's quite a big watch at 42mm, but is really beautifully made and finished. And while it uses a quartz movement, it's priced at under £500, so it offers pretty solid value. Then there's a Rivington GMT, which also uses a cushion-shaped case, but this time it's combined with a bidirectional rotating bezel, and it's even got a ceramic bezel insert. George Bamford and the team from Bamford London were exhibiting, and there was a bit of a buzz around their new D300 dive watch. Now, this only launched a few weeks ago, and it's the first time that I've had the chance to see it in the metal, or rather ceramic. Now I'm hoping to have one of these coming my way pretty soon to do a full review, so I'll save my thoughts on that one for a future video. Now the Arken Alterium was another standout of the show for me. Ken is just a super nice guy and a really talented designer, and you can really see why this watch has done so well for the brand. The one with the blue-grey dial has got real Vacheron Overseas vibes, and while it's a real chunky tool watch, it's made from grade 5 titanium, so it weighs almost nothing. It's priced at around £600, and I think for that it delivers absolutely super value. But Ken was telling me that this model is shortly about to be discontinued, so if you want one, I think you're going to have to jump in quick. Now, Beaucroft watches are another brand that are doing some super affordable designs. The Penfold is a limited edition piece that they've done in collaboration with a Bristol-based artist. Now, at first glance, it looks like these geometric shapes on the dial are printed, but actually as you turn it in the light, you can see that they're applied, which give it a really three-dimensional look. I was also really struck by their Seeker model, and particularly the case profile. It's just really different, and these are super affordable too. I think they're less than £500. Now last, but certainly not least, is Studio Underdog. Now I had a great catch-up with Richard Bentz. It's incredible to see his brand absolutely flying. And the watch that stole the show for me was their Gimlet, which is a collaboration with Fears. Now only 200 pieces were available at the show, and the queues to get this one were absolutely insane. But I can really see why there's so much hype around this piece. I mean, it totally embodies the spirit of both brands. You've got that K-shape and the heritage and look of Fears, but with the colour and the vibrancy from Studio Underdog. Now, I didn't come back from London empty-handed, and although it wasn't with one of these amazing British independent watches, it was with something that I just couldn't resist. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick look at British Watchmakers Day 2025. If you want at the show, do mark it in your calendar for next year, because I'm told that it's going to be even bigger and better. Oh, and before you go, please give this video a like.